Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But Jesus answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, God will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. And he said to him, "All these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. The Apostle Paul would have failed my high school English class. He has the longest sentences in the Bible, period, outside of the opening part to the Gospel of Luke. The first 6 verses of the Gospel of Luke are one sentence. That is the longest sentence in the Bible, only to be slightly underdone by the Apostle Paul. 15, 16, and 17 in your verses today, those are each one sentence long. It's incredible. It's like every word you can think of, let's just put it in there. We don't need commas. There's a scene in the 2003 Disney movie Holes, starring Sigourney Weaver, Patricia Arquette, and Shia LaBeouf, among many others, where the character Stanley, who is played by LaBeouf, and his co-detention mate Hector, played by Kilo Thomas, are out in a huge bone-dry lake. They are digging holes in this barren wasteland as a way of building character and making amends for the crimes they have committed, making sure, as the warden tells them, who's played by Sigourney Weaver, that if they were to find anything interesting, to make sure that they turn it in. Because if they do, they will get 1 day's respite from digging. In this particular scene, the two characters are standing side by side, and they're standing next to an enormous hole that they just completed digging. The camera begins to pan backwards. Their faces are completely drenched in sweat. They are coated from head to toe in dirt, making them almost unrecognizable. The lake floor upon which they are standing is cracked beyond belief. The waves of heat that you see behind them keep you from almost seeing what's in the distance. But what you can make out in this particular scene are piles and piles of dirt. Hundreds, if not thousands, of mounds dot the scorched landscape. Each pile represents a hole, a place of turmoil, of hardship, and of strife. Each one was dug by hand with blood, sweat, and tears, and each is now left open and vacant. The dirt throughout the entire movie is never returned to the holes, never returned to the place of whence it was found, as if it's trying to say, no one will dig here again. No one will get it that easy. Especially if the other detainees are coming out to dig yet again. Nothing will be turned over a second time. The holes represent failings for each of the characters in the story. Reminders of their decisions that they have made and the consequences for those decisions. They are much like the places in our own lives where we have dug pretty large holes, seeking things and searching for things only to realize that nothing is there. And we move on and we go to a new location. We leave piles of things everywhere in our lives, often reminiscent of our own struggles, our own trials, even our own hardships. But rarely, if ever, do we return to those places? Do you have that kind of room in your home? That drawer in your kitchen? That cupboard in your laundry room? What about that time in your life? That place in your memory? We all have holes in our lives. Some are small, some are large. But they dot the horizons of our experiences and our journeys. They are the things we hope to never see again, never hear about again, or truly never remember. Yet in today's gospel text, we see what happens when holes are left unattended. Today's text is the very familiar text of Jesus' temptation in the desert or wilderness. In one of the gospel forms or another, we encounter this story every single year as it appears in the lectionary readings. The devil has come to a tired, a hungry, and a vulnerable Jesus. His baptism by John has only happened one chapter previous to now. And the Spirit of God in the Gospel of Mark hurls Jesus into the wilderness, into the desert. It is here that for 40 days and 40 nights, entering a time of deep solitude, of prayer, of meditation, and of personal preparation for the years of ministry to come, Jesus enters and wanders. The text even goes so far as to name Jesus' plight as being famished. In this deeply human place of vulnerability posed to the Son of God, his own unfillable hole, the devil offers something to fill that void, to cover that hole. He offers the quick fix. If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread, he taunts. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, God will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so as not to let your foot dash against a stone. He challenges. All of these I will give to you, speaking of the kingdoms of the earth, if you will fall down and worship me. He pledges. To each vulnerability, each seeming hole in Jesus' life here on earth, the devil has that quick fix. To his hunger, you're hungry. Make some bread. But only if you are who you say you are. To his divinity, you're a really important person. So jump. They'll catch you if you are really who you say you are. To his person as the Son, everything can be yours. I will give it to you personally, but show me that I am more powerful than you first. Much the same happens in our own lives too, as temptation rears its nasty face. Add to the dynamic lives we live the platforms of social media, and holy mackerel, we have a disastrous concoction. We are bombarded at every stage of life, every age of life, and through every avenue of life with ways in which our deficiencies and vulnerabilities can be met, where our holes can be filled and covered. More so, we are shown in sometimes the most unhealthiest of ways the numerous holes that dot our horizons. Marcus, look at all those times you made folks disappointed. You aren't worth much of anything, are you? Marcus, look how you forgot to follow through on that project. Now the final outcome is suffering. I thought you were better than that. Marcus, look how much better you could be if only you acted in that way. If only you followed my path, my prescription, my plan. Marcus, look how successful all those other people are. Why aren't you more like them? But even when we give into these temptations, they're not just social temptations, temptations of wealth, of materialism, we will find that those things only provide yet another hole to be filled. David Lowe says that to be human, in other words, is to be aware that we carry a hole inside ourselves, an emptiness that will always be restless to fill. Adam and Eve beheld the fruit and concluded in their heart that their hole was shaped just like the fruit. Yet after they ate it, their emptiness remained. We will never fill the holes we have created by ourselves. They only help to dot the horizon of our life with more and more and more memories. But when we enter such a mess as this, as these experiences, where do we turn? Where can we orient ourselves on the horizon of life to right our direction, to see past the waves of heat, to find our way out, and to help us learn to fill the holes we have created with those things that are good, that are purposeful, that are life-giving? We can turn back to the text we have right in front of us. We can heed the words of Christ and make them a part of who we are. We can embrace the fact that, yes, we will be tempted. We will be assured that things are possible outside of God and Jesus Christ. But when we come to such a pass as this, we can exclaim, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Our truth is thus not placed in things of this world, but in the God who created, redeemed, and made holy the creatures of it. It is not in the creations of this world that we will find solace and rest from a life of temptation and fear, a fear of digging and digging and digging. But we will find our peace in the one who said, "For God so loved the world." We will find solace in the one who will speak and ask for forgiveness even for those who are crucifying him. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." By our own measures and means, we cannot and will not overcome temptation and sin. But by the grace and love of God, and in trust, and the trust in who God is and what God has done for the world in Christ, the holes in our lives are filled. Life is made new. The only thing that can and will completely and utterly fill those holes is Christ. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Philippians, wrote this stunning statement: "Let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who, though he was from God, did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but emptied himself, taking the form of a slave, being born in human likeness, and being found in human form, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross." It's Christ's life that was emptied on our behalf. It was given in its fullest measure so that we would always and forever experience the covering and refilling of the holes we make in our life. And we will always know that we are loved, that we are forgiven. What better time than in Lent to be reminded that, yes, we do often create holes, but yes, in Christ's goodness and graces, the holes are filled, sins are forgiven, and our horizons are made flat once again. Amen.